Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Rosie and Bill Show. Our guest this week is the CMA Triple Play Award winner, which means he wrote 3 #1 hits within a 12-month period. He's an accomplished singer, a lover of horses and animals, and he treasures the relationship and connection he has with his fans. Please welcome to the Rosie and Bill Show, Skip Ewing. Hi, Skip. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Rosie. Hey, Bill. Thanks for having me. It's good to see you.
Same here, Skip. It's absolutely our pleasure. We're thrilled to have you on the show. And we've got a lot of ground to cover tonight, Skip, kind of like those wide open spaces in the beautiful state of Wyoming where you are right now. And
Amen.
we're going to talk about Wyoming. We're going to talk about your love for horses, your amazing run in Nashville, your brand new album, which is awesome, by the way. But before we do that, if you don't mind, I'd like to take a little bit of a trip west, a little bit west of where you are right now, to California, where everything began for you. So can you talk with us, Skip, about how and when it was that your musical journey began?
Well, what's been said to me is that I asked for a guitar when I was 4. I don't even remember. I don't remember for sure what. I don't remember a time I didn't play guitar. And so it was, I could play guitar before I could read, is what I was told. I don't know. I just don't remember a time when I wasn't playing guitar. They bought me just an acoustic guitar at the base, and then at some point there was an electric guitar, and then there's some point there was another, cheap acoustic, and that's what I did. I don't remember a time I wasn't playing or singing or writing, and those all grew up together, guys. It's like I started playing guitar, but I and I've told the story a lot, but I don't know what else to say about it. But I didn't have very much to have lessons, so I didn't get many lessons, and so I just tried to figure things out. I would take this little pink curler, a foam curler that women wear, and I push it up underneath my strings all the way to the saddle of the guitar, and it muted all the strings so I could stay up late and I wouldn't get caught, and I could play. So I made up stuff that way, which got me into playing guitar different than some people do. And I started making up stuff to go with it. And that's how it came about.
You were a wily little child, weren't you?
Well, I was crafty. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. I mean, my mom used to wear those curlers, so it's good to hear there was another beneficial use for them.
I have yet to find anyone they're so ubiquitous that I've yet to find anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about when I say that,
Right. You're right. It's true. But it's amazing to me that you taught yourself. And before I ask the next question, I just have to tell you, Skip, I love your voice. It is so pure and so beautiful.
Oh,
it's
thanks.
a pleasure to hear you sing. Yeah, it really is. So we understand that when you moved to Nashville, you got a job at Opryland. How did that come about? And were you scared to take such a leap?
I had done so much music. I mean, remember, I played guitar since I can't remember, and I was always singing and always learning. And I by that time I had gotten into high school, I was playing piano and messing with 5-string banjo, and I'd sung in several different choruses and all kinds of classical influences, including guitar and musical theater. And so all these were just natural steps on the way to wherever I was going, which I didn't know where that was. I didn't know where I was going. I was just following what the opportunities I had. And I had done some work with the Young Americans, actually, and then I toured. I played lead guitar for Jesus Christ Superstar in Detroit, right? I know this is crazy stuff, right? And I met some of the people, and then I was also doing several other shows, Showboat to Richard Rodgers with Love, as a singer. And one of the women who was in those productions went to West Virginia, and there's a place called Busch Gardens, the old country.
Mhm.
And I don't tell this story very often, so it's kind of fun to tell it. And so she went to this place, this Busch Gardens, and they had a country show. And she knew that I liked country music because we had gotten together. She sang country, and she knew I knew how to play guitar and asked me to play. But so the guys from Busch Gardens called me, and he said, "Hey, we understand you can, you do country music." And he said, I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Are you a bass player?" Right? So this I did, right? So he said, "Are you a bass player?" And I said, "Well, what kind of show is it?" He said, "It's a country show." I said, "I'm a bass player." So yeah, because I was going to get hired. So what I did is I went and I traded some stuff around to get this candy apple electric bass. It was, it was cool. And man, all I did was play that until I had to leave to go to Virginia. I mean, I just, and at the time I had to learn, I had to make sure I knew the real bass lines for, like, Charlie Daniels stuff, Devil Went Down to Georgia, anything Alabama, all that, so I just worked it up. I knew it's top four strings of the guitar, but I was honestly not a great bass player. I could play it, but playing bass is an art, and I wasn't holding that brush. But some people from Opryland saw me there and asked me to audition when I went back to California at Debbie Reynolds Studios in Hollywood, right? So I had to figure out a way to get there, okay? Which I did. But this is what happened. I walked in with my guitar and a banjo, like cases, and just kind of dressed in jeans. And I walked in and everyone was wearing tights but me. That's exactly the truth. I mean, it was like dance studio. I felt like, you want to talk about feeling out of place? I was like, okay, well, I didn't expect this. I could hang with you guys, but when I walked in and I almost left, and the woman said, "Are you here for the?" I said, "Yeah, I thought it was a country show." She goes, "Yes." So yeah, so I did an audition and I said, I'm not really a dancer, but I can sing, and so I played part of the chorus, I think, or part of a verse of "She Believes in Me." I remember playing that song. They stopped me about 4 lines in and said, "Okay, we just need to see if you got stage moving." And that was it. That was all they did.
Wow.
And yeah, and I was locked out of my house a good bit of the time, and I would sit outside and listen to see if the phone would ring from
Wait a
them.
minute. Why were you locked out? You're skipping over details here. Why were
Yeah,
you locked out of your
well,
house?
during the day, I couldn't get in the house. It was crazy times. Yeah, it was crazy. I basically ran away to Nashville when I finally called them because I heard the phone ring. And this is nuts. I called them and I said, "I know I'm not supposed to call, but I haven't been able to get in my house during the day. So did you call?" And they said, "Yeah, we almost gave up on you." And there you go. And I hitched a ride with someone else who was going to Nashville from LA, picked me up. I didn't know who he was. I just hopped in the car and went. That's
Oh
how I
my
got there.
gosh. This is a crazy story.
Crazy.
Yeah, because you were pretty much just out of high school when you went to Nashville, right?
It was. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got out of high school and went to a little bit of junior college, and then didn't as soon as I got the job that summer, I went.
Okay, so you get this job at Opryland, and then shortly after you get there, you got a publishing deal. Am I right?
Yeah. We did a show. It was an ensemble show, and we played, I don't know, however many times a day, 3-4 times a day. It was an hour show, and then there'd be a break for ever so long, and we'd do another one, and you know how that goes. And so in between, I would just always go and sit. We had a dressing trailer, and there were stairs. And I would just sit on the back steps of the trailer and practice and work on stuff, And some people heard me sing some songs that I had written, and then this other person heard me, and then I got an invitation from Opryland, who I guess were now going to be affiliated. I didn't know it at the time. They were going to be affiliated with a really major publishing company called Acuff Rose. They were having a writer's night, and I got invited. And so I went and played, a couple of my songs, and they talked to me and gave me a deal, just like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is phenomenal. And I guess I can speak for anyone who's ever heard any of your songs, either those you've written and sung yourself or written for others. Thank you for being brave and making that move when you did, because that's what led to all of this.
Yeah, the thing is, I just always followed it. That was the thing. I didn't know what to expect. I really didn't. I knew that artistically, it was a way that I could share, what I felt, what I had in me, in order to make a connection that I thought was I still believe is a really important element in our whole existence. I mean,
Yeah.
music we can talk about music and lyrics in so many different ways, but it gave me a voice I didn't have in any other way. And so I think I would have done it no matter what.
Mhm.
I guess if I'd failed miserably, I would have tried to become a veterinary scientist or something. But other than that, music was the thing, and I'm glad it worked out.
Well, yeah, and Skip, what's so interesting is you signed that publishing deal, you put out in the late 80s, you chart some singles on your own, and then you have this unbelievable run as a writer in the 90s. And I just wanted to touch on, if I could, just a couple of, every one of your songs has an amazing story behind it. And I'd like to just touch on a couple that really resonated with me. And one of them is, I heard that, and this one, it's almost hard for me to say, but somebody in Nashville referred to a song of yours as a terrible song. I believe that was a quote. And that song ultimately becomes a #1 hit for Colin Ray. So what I want to know is, what's not to love about Love Me?
Well, the thing is, terrible song isn't a quote. He used language I don't use, so I'll say terrible song, but it was awful what he said. I mean, I was flabbergasted. I was like, really? But here's something that you should know, because we talk about being a writer, and we talk about sometimes being an artist or putting records out. I don't separate what I do. This is something that's important. It's important in my journey. It's important in my artistic journey. It's important in my journey now, because there hasn't really ever been a time where I wasn't an artist. And what I mean is, I'm playing, I'm singing, and I'm writing, and those three things are together. That's what makes me an artist, a music artist, a recording artist, or a song artist. It sounds kind of odd to say it that way, but people tend to put a line in between them.
Mm-hmm.
Songwriter, artist. But if I'm a writer who writes for what I do, for me, then I'm a songwriter and an artist. James Taylor, because he's a songwriter, he's an artist, but typically now, because of what's happened, we don't really separate that. We don't ever think of James Taylor as just a writer, right?
Right.
In Nashville, that happens. And it's something where I when I first heard just a writer, anytime, like, are you doing an artist thing or are you just a writer? Yeah, that this happens. And so, and I bring that up because we're going to get to the part where we're talking about my new album coming out and everything. And my effort the entire time was to make the same connection through my songs and through my voice. The songs are my voice. The way I write songs and the way that I want to deliver them. And so they're all connected. So, and I'm saying that because it's even a different thing when I go to my producer in Nashville and playing him a song that I'd like to record, that I go, man, I really feel this. And he says that to me. I left there with my tail between my legs.
Mm.
I just went to my publishing company and I said, they don't like it. They don't like it. So, I guess we can pitch it. And so they pitched it to Colin Ray. And of course, Love Me was nominated for Song of the Year. It was sold his album 1 million copies. pretty much kickstarted his career, if it's, you know,
Yeah.
okay to say that. I mean, I think it was the first really huge song that he had. He had a lot. And but so they wouldn't let me make the records that I wanted to make. I had to keep trying to please the powers that be, and the songs that were getting recorded were the songs that I was told, nah, well, you need to do something else.
Skip,
And
I have to interrupt you because what happened? What was the conversation with these people that were naysaying you and your songs after all these songs went to become incredible hits?
I just really don't, there's not any talk after that. There's not, you know, it's the thing we all have to remember too is that people are making all these decisions about money. They're trying to think what is going to work on the radio. So for a record company, and so I get it. I get it even better now than I did then. I don't have to appreciate the way it came down, but you know, somebody thinks they know what they're going to do in order to make their company money. And so if they don't think it's going to make them money, they don't want anything to do with it. If it takes a chance, most of the time they don't want anything to do with it, you know.
Right.
And so somebody tells me it doesn't work, and then somebody else goes and has a hit. It's not like we ever go back and talk about the fact that, you know, somebody says, well, I was wrong.
Well, but you would think the next time you had something that they're poo-pooing, you could say, well, listen, you got to trust my gut on this, you know.
Remember, I was young.
Yeah.
I was young. I was trusting my gut about writing, but I was scared to death to make a mistake. I was looking at these people who had all this, you know, they had the strings. Don't upset them, you know, and go, okay. So my favorite question has been for a long time, okay, why? Like I tell writers, if somebody says your song is terrible, why? Just tell me what part of it you find is terrible. Because if you can ask somebody why and genuinely say, I'm interested in your opinion, I'm going to find no fault with it. I'm just interested in your opinion. And they give you your opinion. You have information that you can either say, yeah, you're right, and I can work on that. Or I'll take that and I'll process it. And and then if I don't agree with it, I'll keep it. And there have been times where I've done both. But now I look back and yeah, it's funny to say that, but somebody passed on Elvis too. I mean, you know, somebody didn't see the Beatles. so you know, so it's a funny story to tell, but I get it. I get it. Nobody knows for sure. It always sounds more like a hit after it's a hit.
Yeah.
Okay. Every song I've ever written is probably on that classical guitar that's hanging on the wall over there. I've probably written it on that, and I've sat in some room somewhere and played it for the first time for somebody who'd never heard it before, and they had no idea what was gonna happen with it. So I wish things had happened differently, and that I had been able to make the music I wanted to make then. I don't know, because I wouldn't be where I am now. I wouldn't be talking to you guys. I wouldn't be writing the songs that I'm writing. I can't do anything about that. So I just let it go, cut it loose like a helium balloon. Yeah. And just go, all right. No, okay. But now I've had time to write and sing and do, and I'm gone where I am now. Like now I can. Let's see if they'll give me a chance. So that's where we are.
Well, and, you know, Skip, it's amazing. And, you know, Rosie and I are big believers in everything happening for a reason. And I think that's kind of really at the root of what you were just saying. But before I ask my next question, I just have to make a comment, because this is something that, as you're sharing that story, what kind of boggles my mind a little bit is there are songwriters who maybe they're not the best singers, so they stick to writing. And then there are singers who aren't the best songwriters, so they have other people write songs for them. You're a double play combination. Like, you can do them both. And that's the thing that fascinates me. And you started out as a singer, and you showed you had chops on both ends. So that's the part that just kind of surprises me and disappoints me, simply because you could have taken any one of those #1 hits that you wrote for other people, and, you know, a couple for Brian White, Clint Black, Diamond Rio, Colin Ray. You could have done all of them, just as well or better with your voice. As Rosie commented on your voice earlier in the show, but I guess again, it's, you know, it's subjective, and for the people that are making those decisions.
And you don't know. You never know. So on the other hand of it, you have to go, man, I wanted it to be a hit. I want people to hear my songs, you know. Does it have to be a hit on the radio for a lot of people to know your song? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Like, for instance, I've written some Christmas things that I don't know if they've ever charted, but they've been on a lot of records and a lot of people have heard it, you know. So that's a good indication of what I mean. But had I cut Love Me, the record Colin made wouldn't have happened. Likely wouldn't have happened. And Colin made a really strong record on that. And Brian White, with Billy Walker Jr. as his producer, made beautiful records out of the songs. Here's an example to show you. Like, you think if one artist doesn't do it, another artist might, or something. One of the songs that Brian White cut, I had 3 number ones with him in a row, was Rebecca Lynn and I'm Not Supposed to Love You Anymore. I mean, I'm sorry, Rebecca Lynn and Someone Else's Star. Those were the first 2. But the third one I had with him was called Not Supposed to Love You Anymore. After we'd had the first 2 hits, Bonnie Raitt had the song I'm Not Supposed to Love You Anymore on hold. Now, she's in my short list of people that I wanted to record a song of mine ever. You know, there were some others, Merle, Willie, those kind of, and I've had some of those happen, but not Bonnie. She had it on hold. Now, on hold means that, you know, the artist is saying, hey, we're planning to cut this on the record. Please don't play it for anyone else until we tell you yes or no, but there's no guarantee. And Billy Walker called me, Billy Walker Jr., that's Brian White's producer, and he said, you got to let me have that song. I said, Troy or somebody over there played it for you. And he said, well, yeah, we're hearing everything that you write, you know, everything. You got to let me have that song. And I said, Billy, this is Bonnie Raitt we're talking about, man. This is huge. And he said, we already gave you 2 number ones. I'm telling you, it's going to be our 3rd number one. Wow. Well, nobody can guarantee that. No, nobody can guarantee they're going to have a number one record on a song they haven't even cut. But ultimately, we didn't know for sure if Bonnie was going to cut it. And we knew that they would cut it. And they had already been so kind and cut songs, and they were really into it, that we checked with them and said, if you're not sure, we're going to go ahead and pitch this to another person. And somehow that's how it happened. And then Brian cut a record on it, and it was a number one record. It was a beautiful, beautiful record.
Yeah.
You know, that could have waited. Bonnie Raitt could have held it and even cut it and had it not make the record. I don't know.
Right.
But you see, that's like one of those things where you have to go, I don't know, but I'm glad that one worked out the way that it did. You know,
right? You had to make the call and just know that you can't control it, you can't foresee the future, and you had to have peace with not knowing and just making a decision.
Now I just say it's the best Bonnie Raitt cut I've never had.
Well, I think we should talk about the new album now. What do you think, Bill?
Well, I've got to say a couple things, Skip. And first of all, so April 26th, your new album came out. And the bottom line is, from what I've heard so far, Road Dog, Windmill, Knots, and Wreck of My Heart, this album seems to have something for everyone, doesn't it?
Now you opened up a cool thing for me to say. You opened up a cool place, something for everyone, right? But I don't know if there's all these different people that listen to my music. I don't know who listens to my music for sure. I know
I do,
and that's awesome. But you see, when you say something for everyone, I think that means it's diverse.
Yeah,
and that's one of the things that I get to do. Being able to do what I'm doing now. When I write, you know, another part of the journey, which we don't have to get into, but there was, you know, about, I don't know, 10 years ago, I sold everything in Nashville, everything. And I left music basically, and I went on the road to study horses. I went to study horsemanship because I knew what I would grow, how I would grow doing that, right? And long story short, it led me back to music because of my wife. But when I was working with horses, when you're working with horses, I had to work so hard at recognizing how a horse takes in the world. We have, for instance, we have binocular vision. They have monocular vision. Right side doesn't see the left side. If it feels pressure, it's going to move differently. It's got four legs. It hears differently. I had to work so hard of getting out of myself. Not what is my experience, what is your experience? If I'm going to be a compassionate horseman, what is your experience? And how am I doing this with you? When I go to write, I'm even more like that than I was before. So I'm thinking, here I am writing. I don't know what your experience is, and why you like to hear my music. I don't know. But I can guess that there are places where we are similar. And if you care about things in the way I do, or there's a connection to the kind of metaphor that I might say because you've loved a certain way, or been hurt a certain way, or believed a certain way, or had an amazing dog, whatever those are, it allows me to, when I'm writing a song, if I come up with an idea, I can write it the way I think is the best way to write the idea and give you that. It's like painting to me. That's what I love to do that. So it ends up being really different. I went where I thought it should go. Where it was either a really cool musical idea, like Road Dog started out as this bluegrassy idea on the guitar, and I didn't know what to do with it. I had just played it, and I went out to my truck after I had been writing, and I went to open the door, and like there's literally were like wet nose smudges all over the windows, and there's white hair. He's 100-pound Pyrenees mix, right? There's white hair all over the floor in the back because the truck seats are up, and there's hair everywhere. No matter what, you can't get rid of it. And I thought, there's so many people that have that. That's got to be something that could make a connection. So I write that. And what I mean is it's lovely for you to say that there's a lot of things. There are. And I hope that if you come and listen to what we have to say, it's going to give you a lot of things. It's not going to be the same thing, over and over. It's going to come from the same well. It's meals from the same kitchen. I'm trying to come up with something. Yeah. That's how I feel. Yeah. And it's exciting to do that.
Yeah, it sounds like it's freeing. Skip, before we go, do you feel like you have elevated your songwriting since you moved to Wyoming, or is it just a completely different perspective? Because you sound like you're really just speaking your truth and are very authentic now in your writing and not worrying about trying to please people.
I think anything that we do, anything that we endeavor to do really skillfully, we need to just keep learning. We need to always keep learning. We need to be open to that. Just, is there something I can do even better? So I like to say more skillfully, because it means we're already doing something right. You're never hard on yourself if you say more skillfully, because it's already skillful. So, okay. So I hope that I continue to grow with my writing skills, endeavoring to have a hit song on the record sung by whoever you want to put in that spot. That's not necessarily what I'm doing. I'm not saying that I couldn't maybe focus and do that. But if I did that, if I tried to do that, such a small percentage of anything that I wrote would be heard. And I'm not sure that I would. I want to allow my spirit. I want to allow myself to be able to write in the way that I know I can write. And it's taking a heck of a chance, to do that. So maybe I continue. Hopefully, I continue to become more skillful. But I've always tried to write authentically. Once I get into writing something or offering something I don't believe in, it just starts pushing back at me so hard. And I've done it. And I don't want to do that anymore. It's counter to my spirit. I like to be able to sing a song that I can say, I wrote this. I believe what I wrote. I said what I wanted to say just the way I wanted to say it, and I am happy to play it for you. I know I can't make you like it, but if you listen, you might find something. And It
Wow.
seems a lot of people are finding something, and I am grateful for being given the chance. It's a lot of work, and it's funny how it's funny how I feel like I'm a brand new artist, like I've never been an artist before. So if that on that level, you might have, that was a really insightful question to ask. Yeah, it's different. It's different, but not really. It's 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 all I can give without filtering stuff, without saying, well, that's not gonna please everyone. So
Mhm.
No, and it just sounds so liberating to hear you say that as well, Skip. Now, if you don't mind, I just had one last quick question for you, and it's actually a two-parter, and that is, what has been the easiest song for you to start writing, and what's the hardest song you've had to finish? And I know there's been times I've heard you say in the past where, you're okay with walking away from a song, but what was the easiest one to start and the hardest one to finish?
I don't have an answer for the first. I really don't. Thinking of easy to start, I think it was Stephen King. I think it was Stephen King talking to press on talk radio somewhere, I think. And they were asking about writer's block. And I agree with what he said about writer's block, which is there really isn't any writer's block. If I know what to write, if I know what to write about, I can write about it.
Mm.
So starting a song isn't a difficult. I can start a song, no problem. But finding the piece that matters, knowing what, either something that needs to be said or a piece of music that is moving, that speaks in a certain way, those are what you're always looking for. So once you find that, great, but you never know you're looking for it you're looking for it, but you never know what it is until you find it. So I don't have the easiest to start. I don't know. I'm gonna pick up my guitar and we can start a song right now. Doesn't mean it's gonna be good. We're gonna finish. And you mean the hardest song to finish?
Yeah, that you actually finished, that you didn't walk away from.
Let me talk about the experience of that rather than pick a particular song, because another thing that's said is to like something to the effect of it's bliss to have written, but it's hell to be writing.
Mm.
Okay, so I didn't say that either, and that's a paraphrase. I don't know if that's what was originally said, which means that it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And one of the things that I hope to do is, I hope when I finish a song, I've looked deeply at it. Like, I don't ever take some of my songs and pull them apart, but there are subtleties, the things that I look really deeply into that I want to be there, because I think even if you don't recognize it, you can feel it.
Mm.
Even if you don't recognize it, you can feel it, which is one of the things about truth in a song. If you say something that's not really true to human existence, it'll ring wrong. If you ask someone to believe something they don't believe in, and you can get by with it sometimes, but it's never powerful.
I'll leave you with this, Skip. The bottom line is, whether you're answering a question or writing a song, you are genuine, you are authentic, and everything has deep thought into it, and it's much appreciated.
Well, I appreciate you for doing that. I say it every time. The only reason this is happening is because I'm being given opportunities like being able to talk with you guys, for people to discover the music that I'm doing, and I hope we get to keep doing it. Looks like good things are happening for the Road to California album. So, yeah.
Well, we sure appreciate you taking time away from your songwriting to talk to us. And Bill's right. I mean, I love hearing your process and just, how much thought goes into it. I don't know if people realize that the time and effort and heartache and investment songwriters put into really making sure that they communicate their story or whatever their message is in that precise way that is unique to them. And we really appreciate you sharing those stories with us and talking with us. And we wish you all the best on the album. And we'll have to have you back again.
It's my pleasure. I hope you will. You guys seem to have really good hearts. It was fun to talk to you, and now I know you a little better. We'll even have a different kind of interview.
Definitely.
All right.
And folks, thank you again so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Facing the cold wind, watch the world roll by. Don't need to know where we're going, don't need to know why. Hell with the white lines, don't read the stop signs. Just need a pit stop every now and then along the roadside. I'm a rider, I'm a rover, I'm a different breed. Backseat driver with a pedigree. Life looks better from a passenger seat. Pick up the keys, let's go. I'm a road dog. I'm a road dog. I'm mud on the back seats, hair on your good clothes, dog breath and paw prints, wet no smudges on the windows. Love me a truck stop, love me a hotel, love me a drive-through, finger-licking chicken if it goes well. If I know we're leaving, I'm the first in line. Brand new journey for me every time. Don't want company, I'll change your mind. Pack up the treats, let's roll. I'm a road dog. I'm a road dog. I'm a good dog. I'm a rider, I'm a rover, I'm a different breed. Backseat driver with a pedigree. Life looks better from the passenger seat. Pack up the treats, let's go. If I know we're leaving, I'm the first in line. Brand new journey for me every time. Don't want company, I'll change your mind. I've got the leash, let's roll. I'm a road dog.
This week's episode has been brought to you by Doherty & Company Insurance Services for all your business and personal insurance needs. Our friends at Tennis Addiction in Exton, PA. And the Malin Agency, where exceeding expectations is how they do business.